Hey everybody, it's been a while since I've done a Facebook Live. I'm just enjoying the last bits of day. It's been so lovely and breezy here in Austin. And as some of you may know, politics aside, and this is not about politics, this is about a beautiful, strong, wonderful example of a woman who my mother and father were friends with. And Barbara Bush, who has passed away today, and my mother, who passed away in July this past year. I am imagining quite a sweet, playful reunion up there. There will be shenanigans for sure. Hey, Danny. Barbara Bush wrote a letter that I read at my mother's funeral, and it was all about two powerful, strong, controlling, matriarchal women and their love of family and fun and shenanigans and a sincere affection between them. And I find myself, hey Bob, hey Priscilla, I find myself with renewed grief, missing my mom, which is so interesting for me, and just enjoying, hey Jeremy, the knowing of Mrs. Bush being surrounded by family and her making similar choices to the choices we made on the behalf of my mother at the end of her life. And I had just sent an email to my dad and the sweet Jean Becker, who is the, sorry for the dog barking, that's my dog, who is the press secretary for President and Mrs. Bush and a friend of our family's, and saying that I had hoped, my wish, stop Suki, my wish for Mrs. Bush is that her last few days be as sacred and family filled as my mother's was. And then literally moments later, after I sent that message to them, I got the message that she had passed away. So again, politics aside, I want to take this opportunity to, hey Kristen, hey Alexandra, hey Hilda, I want to take this opportunity to remember the sameness of us and to invite everybody to a greater depth and love and appreciation of one another, regardless of if we agree or not. We do not have to agree to love one another. We do not have to agree to respect one another. That is not a requirement for love. As a matter of fact, the only requirement, Brayden, hi sweetheart. The only requirement for love is a true acceptance and freedom. To truly love is to love one another regardless of what we believe and all of that. I miss you too, Brayden, you sweet thing. Hey, Evelyn and Tony. So this is a call to love, and Barbara Bush was certainly a love and a passionate woman and a strong example to so many of us of what it means to love fiercely, what it means to chase your passions fiercely, to support your family fiercely. I promise you that woman did not agree with everything that everybody said, and she made no bones about it, right? If she did not agree with you, you knew it. Hey, Selena, honey. And she was fiercely herself, stylist, schmilist. She was going to be herself. So this is a woman who loved herself. Do you know what I mean? Like, really embraced her authenticity, which is a word that we kick around a lot, and a word that really means something to me. And for her to embrace her Barbara-ness is just such a great example for all of us. Hey, Mercedes. So I just am taking this opportunity to say thank you for the example that you are, and to call all of you guys to Love without conditions. Love without conditions. Love people who don't agree with you. You don't have to like what they believe. You don't have to agree with what they believe. We can absolutely, completely love each other. And again, as I'm always preaching, it begins with self-love. Because when I have enough love in my heart for me, and I'm grounded in my own truth and authenticity, as Mrs. Bush was such a fine example of, right? That woman knew who she was. That woman knew who she was. And if someone is different than me, it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't threaten who I am. If anything, it gives me the opportunity to stand up and stand out and be more myself. So I just wanted to reach out to you guys in my own tenderness and my own sweetness and my own grieving my mom, remembering reading Mrs. Bush's words at my mother's funeral, and the connection there, right? I posted last night late that connection is my higher power. And that's really the truth for me. To be able to connect with you guys, to be able to witness the sweetness of the connection between Mrs. Bush and my mother, and the silliness and the similarities of those women who had vastly different politics than me. Hey, Kevin. And still to be able to witness and appreciate and love their connection and their fierceness, and to hope that I have some of that in me as well, and to really know, I know that I have that in me. So I have a really interesting relationship with death and with grief. For me, grief is an opportunity to stay close to and remember and celebrate what has been lost. It's not something to avoid. So it's really important that we share the stories of grief, and we do not run and hide and close the door in our grief. We need to be held, and we need to be seen, and we need to be loved in our grief. And I guess there's a part of me, hey DJ, I guess there's a part of me that is jumping on here so that you guys can hold space for me in my grief, in my remembering my mom, and all of the memories that come up. I'll tell you, my mother worked in the White House when President Bush 41 and Mrs. Bush were there. She was a volunteer in Mrs. Bush's press office. And the stories my mother would tell are hilarious. And there's a chapter in Mrs. Bush's memoirs called Recipe Gate, and it is all about my mama and the shenanigans those two got into. There's some specialness there for me, and I'm grateful to all of you who are watching and holding space and grieving with me as we celebrate this really lovely, feisty, wonderful woman, Mrs. Bush. You will be missed, honey. You will be missed. Love you guys. Thank you.